Hey there, it's Ben from patternprofits.net. I wanted to bring you a few ideas into next week. What we're looking at first here is VIOT. This one kind of exploded onto the radar last week with this big move Thursday and Friday on huge volume. What I want to point out here is just not to chase this up. If we look at some of the others that have had big runs, they pulled back. You get this kind of flag pattern where it comes back in towards one of the shorter term moving averages. In fact, let's put the faster moving 8 EMA on here. You can see this has provided support in the past. If we look at some of the others that have had big runs recently, even other China names like Futu, you see how they got extended and then they came back in. Because they're moving so quickly, very few opportunities to get at the 10, no opportunities at all at the 20, which is why I like to throw on that 8 EMA. Futu up here near previous highs. Another one, TIGR, same type of run here where you barely get an opportunity. This one gave at least a few more opportunities at the 8 EMA, but not many opportunities here early on the way up if you were using the 10 or the 20. The point is just to not chase them up. You want to be able to manage your risk just in case the stock or the overall market rolls back over. You want to be able to manage it rather tightly, keep that risk tight. This is another one that's had a nice run, ZDGE's edge, and right up just below highs at 1480. But the point I want you to see here is it tends to get extended from the 8 EMA or the 10 EMA, then it comes and pulls in. This is where you want to try to grab these for swing opportunities, is when they consolidate and come in and then come back out. That's why we watch those inside days like you see right here, where you have confluence of the 8 EMA, the 10 MA, volume shelf, and then they explode for that next leg up, capture something like that. What you don't want to do is chase it way up here. So look for this to flag out, let the short-term moving averages catch up, or if you're using volume weighted average price, you want to get price tight to those so that you can manage the risk in those opportunities very tightly. Another one I want to talk about is our old friend Fulgent, kind of flagging up here. Let me take that EDMA off now. Flagging up here, 20 MA has acted as support. If we bring our volume by price over, you can see the volume shelf point of control just below where we closed on Friday. Look for this one to break through that flag, come out for the next leg up. That's what we'll be looking for there with Fulgent Genetics. Another one, Grow Generation, symmetrical triangle up high, using handoff technique with the VWAP coming off of this swing low, which I had marked earlier and we discussed earlier, which did turn out to be the daily swing low. You've now got a nice little tight consolidation triangle up high, volume shelf right there where it closed on Friday. So looking for this one to make the turn there, come out, close above that descending trend line, and make the next leg up. BEKE, we talked about this one last week. A little different from these others that I've shown you. This one is still within the base, but a little triangle pattern within the base. Now you have the big move on Friday gets you back into trend alignment with those moving averages, what I refer to as power of three, where the 10, the 21, and the 50 are all in alignment. Look for this to clear this descending trend line here. You have a proper and more traditional standard pivot up here at 79.40. But this, pocket pivot down here, and you had a couple really nice strong days of volume here too within this base. Bodes well usually for the future. So this was an opportunity to get in early. This was actually on the watch list last week. And now if it comes through here, breaks the trend line, you're in early for the potential breakout up here. Don't forget, if they tend to pause up here around 79.40, that prior high comes back, forms a little handle, that is completely normal action and in fact should be expected. It's also rather healthy when that happens rather than just blasting right through that without shaking out the last of the weak hands. TTD, another big report late last week and a monster move on that report. This gap back here actually from the prior earnings, that anchored VWAP has been reclaimed. It actually held as support late last week, and then you had the big move on Friday. This is another pocket pivot here, both Thursday and then of course Friday on the news. Volume shelf is just below. You have a standard pivot up above 972.80. Early entry back here. We can wait for this to come up here, form the handle or flag out up here. The proper and more traditional CAN-SLIM entry is on the move through 972.80. Just massive triple digit EPS growth, plus 149% last quarter. 3 consecutive quarters of accelerating revenue growth, and looking ahead, annual growth of EPS for 2022 is near that 30% mark too. So TTD back to its old ways, looks like back to being the leader that we once knew. One more that's not currently on the focus list, but I want to bring your attention. It's had many visits to the focus list. It just happens to not be on it right now, but this little symmetrical triangle setting up nicely. If we move the volume by price over, you'll see that the volume shelf point of control is just below. Anchored VWAP off of the gap, also just below. This, it tried to go on Friday, then the market weakened, and it came back in. So we're looking for this to push through that descending trend line, confirm the symmetrical triangle, and give us the next leg up. 70.66, I believe it is. Yes, 70.66, the prior high. So like we were saying before, don't be surprised if that symmetrical triangle confirms, you come up here, get a pause, little shakeout or little handle forms before the next leg up. This would turn out to be a very relevant pivot at 70.66 above if this symmetrical triangle confirms. That's all I've got for the focus list for next week. Trade them well. I'll be back shortly with some velocity scan ideas.